Salam. I ngā mana, I ngā reo, I rao rangatira mā, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Well, thanks a lot. That's a hard act to follow. Some really great speakers. And I have to say, thank you to them, and thank you to the great emceeing, but also thanks to you guys for some really great points and engaging and pushing them a bit. We like to keep them busy and on their toes. But also a really big thank you to Auckland Council for having the forethought to create this dialogue and discussion, because the more we shout about it, the more change we're going to get. And people are watching and people listen to this, and people have taken away a lot from today. So I'm just going to touch on some of the things that I heard, and I really appreciate anybody chipping in and responding to that also. I thought there were some really powerful messages there from Davina about how businesses stand to benefit from making change, energy efficiency and climate resilience. So resilient buildings mean lower insurance costs, but more importantly, perhaps, resilient buildings and other structures like that, infrastructure, means a more resilient community. And isn't that so important for New Zealand? I really love the term elite projection, and I love the fact that we got immediately a response from Jacqueline about how we can get young people involved immediately, and a connection there with Frank and the audience. I love Ludo's term about the house being on fire. If you don't follow Ludo and listen to him, he really senses that, right? And he's driving that change. So, I know there's more change to be had, but the foresight to be talking about Queen Street being pedestrianised, that's a major step. People are going to see that, it's going to happen, and that's going to lead to other change. I like Jamie's point from the audience, right? Are you two talking to each other? I quite like that. And I'm going to come back to this point, because people who we heard today, they're being brave and they're putting ideas out there that do actually challenge. But it is true that not all the time the people in those senior positions in Auckland Council are going to listen to them. So there's a challenge to you. When you see exciting things that John Morrow is doing, like his Sustainability Action Plan, which is looking at low carbon future, better public transport, these sorts of actions, that you get online and you support that, and you drive for change, and you push senior people to support that, because he needs that energy and support as well, even if he does, cycle short distances as an able-bodied person. Probably while smiling. Gee, so annoying. So I think we do need to keep challenging, right? I really like the point about the car yard that we're going to have on our beautiful foreshore. Isn't that ridiculous? Stop doing dumb things. There's a catchphrase there for tonight. So I really like that. So there was a really clear message from tonight. And, that is that we need to get transport right here. And that's going to lead to people feeling more connected. It's going to lead to people getting around more easily, for people feeling more safe. And I really like some of the key messages here from the geography student about just wanting to make it easier to get around. And I think that is key. We heard about more hubs. We know that Panuku Development Auckland is doing some great work here. But we really heard that people want change. I like Ludo's points that, we are working away at 50 or 60 years of poor investment, poor infrastructure around us. I do believe change is coming. Here's the rub. Here's the rub. In this whole thing, we need to celebrate the small steps forward we're making. Chris Darby's here and others, because that's the thing that gives us energy to go ahead and do more change. And it doesn't take away from the fact that we still need to get angry about the pace of change. So we can say it's tremendous that Auckland Council has doubled use of public transport in a very short space of time. The electrification of the trains, more stops, more frequency, I agree, more buses. But at the same time, we can say, bloody hell, let's do this fourfold faster and fourfold more, I agree. And, really great point from Davina, a great collaborator from Australia, who I'm just really honoured to have over here. So there we are. We take development contributions from people for new developments. And I kind of question what we're talking about. Could we not be saying those developments where those developers put in more public transport, where they have better resilience to climate change, why can't we dramatically reduce the development contributions or make a difference between those that are more impactful and less? You know, think about how we're engaging more with iwi and reward that, have more resilient communities that are being developed. So that's some of what I heard. I know it's not everything. I do think that a really big collaborator and potentially a group of people to help drive that change, because you need our support for this, is the Climate Leaders Coalition. Some of New Zealand's biggest brands have signed up to getting to measuring and reducing their carbon emissions, and they're going to be on board with this. They equate to over 50% of all of our carbon emissions in New Zealand. Hell, let's get them involved. I just thought I'd finish with a story which is about Auckland Council and something I think is kind of uplifting and positive. So 6 years ago, you know, we were asked to create a tool to look at resilient, low-carbon homes that deliver savings and are healthier for New Zealanders. And it's worth noting that our building code is absolutely woeful by international standards. And we created that, and an organisation stepped forward about 2.5 years ago and said, we believe in this. And that was Panuku Development Auckland. And I'm telling it partly to celebrate that. They also took up Green Star Communities, a great tool that Davina was involved in Australia. That drives forward livable, resilient communities, and it focuses on engagement from local stakeholders like iwi to get communities we all deserve. So they're leading in New Zealand on these things, and we should be proud of that. But here's the really interesting thing. So they're doing 9,000 homes to Homestar. Some other organisations are doing that as well because they led. And as a result, we're now working with central government to change the building code. And that's going to mean more insulation, it's going to be warmer homes, about 80% less construction waste to landfill, and other change because they were willing to step up and deliver for Aucklanders. So I think there's just a little note there about some action taking place and some people out there who are brave enough to step forward, and I wanted to reflect on that. Right, so I'm going to ask you to do something now, your key action. I'd like you to stand up. So we've got a hell of a way to go to get to zero carbon, you know, but New Zealand can do that. We were the first nation in the world to give women the vote, one of the first to enable gay marriage, and we can lead, and I firmly believe that. But to do that, we need you, and we need you to keep giving John and Ludo some stick, but we also need you to give them energy, and give your colleagues energy, give your neighbours energy when they're taking the right steps. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to raise your right hand. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to repeat after me. I believe in a better future. I believe in zero carbon. I believe we can do this. Awesome. Now I want you to turn to your neighbour, right? Turn to your neighbour. Keep your hands up. Not all one person. Do a high five. Wait for me. Wait for me. Do a high five. Let's say, let's get this shit done. Kia ora. Let's go. Thank you.